Welcome, travelers of Faerun, to another deep dive into the forgotten realms. Today we journey west of Cormyr, into the shadow of storm-swept peaks and mist-wreathed plains. The legendary Stormhorn Mountains and the mysterious Tunlands. Together, they form one of the most enduring frontiers in all of the Heartlands. A crossroads of kingdoms, cultures, and storms.
Imagine you're standing upon the western walls of Cormyr, where the kingdom's emerald hills rise into towering stone and cloud. Ahead stretches a horizon carved by nature's sternest hand. The Stormhorn Mountains, ancient sentinels of granite and mist, towering high enough to pierce the breath of the gods. Behind you, civilization, banners, roads, and law before you. A realm defined not by kings, but by thunder. The Stormhorns are not merely a mountain range. They are a presence. They cast a permanent shadow across Cormyr's history, shaping both its weather and its wars. In sunlight, their slopes gleam with silver veins, remnants of dwarven delving. In twilight they brood, their peaks crowned by roiling clouds, their valleys echoing with distant avalanches, and the lonely cry of skyhawks circling above. The air here is charged, thin and sharp, smelling faintly of wet stone and ozone. Travelers often say the wind itself speaks, hissing through narrow gullies like a language of warnings. Even the most seasoned ranger pauses to listen, knowing the Stormhorns have moods and each path might change with a single breath of the sky. Descending westward, the mountains relax, their ridges breaking into foothills that roll outward. Like the fingers of a vast stone hand, streams gush from crevices, collecting into rivulets and brooks that twist through ravines and meadows. These waters, swollen with snowmelt, converge to form the beating heart of the western frontier. The Tun River. Beyond its banks, the landscape transforms. Here, the rock softens and the world exhales. Hills flatten into floodplains and plains dissolve into fen. This is the Tunlands, a region where the boundary between earth and water blurs, where land itself migrates with the seasons, and where a road you walked last year might today lie hidden beneath reeds and still pools. To call the Tunlands a plain is to misunderstand them entirely. They are a living geography, not static but cyclical. In spring, the river bursts from its cradle, scattering silt and song across the valleys. In summer, golden grasses ripple under skies heavy with heat, humming with insects and the scent of wild mint. Autumn brings fog, curling low like a memory reluctant to leave. And winter hardens the ground, freezing the water's mirror to reveal, for a fleeting season, the skeletons of ruins long swallowed by the flood. From above, the Tunlands resemble a tapestry of colors and textures. Emerald ridges, silver streams, ochre marshes, and violet shadows cast by drifting clouds. The landscape appears calm, even pastoral, but beneath its surface lies ceaseless change. Peat shifting in the night, islets forming where lightning struck, forests swallowed whole and reborn miles away. This land challenges all who would measure it. Cartographers curse it, generals mistrust it, poets adore it. For every path is provisional, every landmark transient. You can never truly know the Tunlands. You can only follow them, as you would follow a tide.
together. The storm horns and Tunlands form a natural dialogue, one of contrast and balance. The mountains speak of endurance, of stone unmoved by storm. The plains reply with resilience, bending but never breaking. One is the sculptor, the other the clay. One channels the wind's fury, the other absorbs its tears. For Cormyr, these two regions define the kingdom's edge, both shield and sieve. Armies may march through the passes, but none do so unchanged. For adventurers, they are the threshold, a place where the laws of men fade and the laws of nature reclaim the stage. If you listen closely, the land itself tells its story. The rumble of thunder over Highhorn speaks of ancient battles fought and forgotten. The sigh of reeds in the Tun marshes carries songs older than cities. And in the silence between, one hears the heart of Faerun itself, vast, unpredictable, and alive. The geography of contrast is not only about terrain, it's about temperament. The storm horns embody the stoic, the martial, the enduring, a realm for knights, dwarves, and storm giants alike. The Tunlands in turn reflect the mercurial, the adaptive, the secretive, home to nomads, druids, smugglers, and spirits. Their juxtaposition creates narrative tension. To the east, order; to the west, change; to the traveler, a choice. Ascend into stone or descend into mist. Neither is safe, both are beautiful. And in that balance between the unmoving and the ever-moving lies the essence of the western frontier. The storm horns remind mortals of their limits. The Tunlands remind them of their place within a cycle greater than any crown or creed. So before we move deeper into the annals of history, stand once more at their meeting. Behind you, law, lineage, and light. Before you, storm, story, and shadow between them. You, the wanderer, the witness, the soul seeking meaning in the murmuring of stone and the laughter of rain. In the end, geography here is destiny. The storm horns and Tunlands are not boundaries on a map. They are the very pulse of Faerun's western heart, beating in time with the thunder. The storm horns have stood since the dawn of Faerun's shaping, a serrated wall hewn from the bones of the world. They are not young peaks nor gentle. They are scarred, cracked, and wise with age. The kind of mountains that do not merely exist but endure. To walk among them is to trace the spine of history itself, each ridge and ravine a record of gods, empires, and echoes. Long before banners flew over Suzail, before men tilled Cormyr's fields, these mountains were the realm of fire, forge, and stone in those shadowed eons. Dwarves of the fallen realm of Ogren delved beneath the slopes. Their chisels bit deep into granite, carving halls lined with silver-veined marble and basalt stairways that spiraled toward chambers of living flame. They named their strongholds with thunderous words lost to memory, syllables that rumble still in the cracks when storms strike the peaks. In the oldest tales, Ogren's smiths worked side by side with earth elementals, shaping wonders both martial and divine, shields that sang in battle, anvils that echoed prophecies, but such craft drew envy and greed, and as their wealth grew, so too did the tunnels, sprawling, branching, collapsing under their own pride. In time, the forges cooled, the dwarves spoke of tremors, of hollow thunder that answered their hammers.
Some say they delved too close to something ancient, a sleeping current of power beneath the crust, and the mountain, offended, sealed its wounds with them inside. When the last quake faded, smoke rose from the clefts for 100 days. Since then, the dwarves of Ogren have haunted these heights only in ghost and legend, their halls choked with rubble and regret. For centuries afterward, the peaks knew silence. Ice grew where song once rang, in their solitude came others. Creatures drawn to shelter in the ruins of stone. First came goblins, carving crude lairs in abandoned mines, scratching over dwarven runes with their own jagged marks. Then came the hobgoblin legions of Dorgrath, proud in their own way, clad in scavenged armor, proclaiming a kingdom forged not in stone but in war. They ruled the upper valleys for generations, raising watchtowers of blackened basalt, holding their councils beneath banners painted with the broken horn. But their dominion, like all that challenges the peaks, was fleeting. Cormyrean bards still sing of the night of the shattered sky, when a storm unlike any other rolled over the range. Lightning lanced the ridgeline, striking Dorgrath's towers with such fury that the stone itself screamed. When dawn broke, their kingdom was gone. Only charred ruins, and the smell of ozone remained. Whether their doom came by godly wrath, arcane folly, or vengeance from the deep halls of Ogren, no one can say. The mountains remember, but they do not confess. In time, humankind arrived, climbing from the green lowlands with wonder in their eyes and ambition in their hearts. The early kings of Cormyr, still carving their young realm from forest and fen, looked westward to these storm-shrouded bastions and saw both peril and promise. For the mountains were a wall, and walls could defend as well as divide. They sent rangers first, scouts and hermits, to map the passes, to learn the moods of the heights. Many never returned. Those who did spoke of avalanches that struck without warning, of winds that changed direction mid-breath, of strange lights flickering in ravines, sometimes blue as magifier, sometimes red as forge glow. Their maps were incomplete, their voices hushed. Yet still the kings pressed on. Driven by duty and dream, roads crept upward, switchback by switchback, and where they faltered, masons raised arches and bridges to span the void. At last, upon a lofty crag, they built Highhorn Keep, a fortress as stalwart as the mountains themselves. Its foundations rest upon dwarven stone. Its towers watch every pass within its walls. Purple dragon knights keep eternal vigil, their oaths echoing through generations, to guard Cormyr's western heart, to light the beacons when shadow stirs.
Highhorn's banners have seen much. The creeping banners of Orcish hosts, the flickering signals of allied riders, the glimmer of merchant caravans snaking through snow. More than once the keep has been besieged, but never has it fallen. Its stones have absorbed the thunder of catapults and the roar of wyverns, and still they stand, blackened but unbroken. They say that when lightning strikes Highhorn's battlements, it runs down into the old dwarven veins beneath and whispers along tunnels no man remembers. But not all history here is written in war. Some come softly, in snowfall and silence. Monasteries clung to secluded cliffs, founded by hermits seeking the storm's wisdom. They built shrines to Akkadi, goddess of air, and to Talos, whose temper they hoped to soothe. Their chants mingled with wind, their prayers froze upon their lips. Few remain today. The storms took many, and time the rest. Yet sometimes travelers hear voices in the gale, singing hymns in languages long dead. Among adventurers, rumors abound of buried halls still intact, sealed by ancient wards, of vaults lined with mithril awaiting rediscovery, of swords forged from lightning glass, of giants sleeping in petrified form. Some claim that on certain nights, when the clouds thin and moonlight touches the highest peak, you can see a figure walking the skyline, a solitary shape with a hammer in hand, pausing at every ridge, listening. Whether spirit, survivor, or story, none can tell. For
For every age has left its mark upon the storm horns. Dwarves, goblins, men, each have built, fought, and vanished, yet the mountains persist, impartial to victory or ruin. They are not hostile, but neither are they forgiving. They are teachers, and their lesson is always the same. All that climbs must eventually descend. Today, the storm horns remain the kingdom's steadfast guardian in its constant trial. For Cormyr, they are both treasure and test. Within their folds lie veins of ore, clear springs and hidden dangers. High horns watch fires burn nightly, but no flame can illuminate every shadow. Smugglers and spies still weave through forgotten trails, and old magic stirs in caves, sealed before the crown was ever forged. To the Tunlar people below, the mountains are not walls but elders. Ancient, unpredictable, commanding reverence. They see faces in the cliffs, hear voices in the thunder, and believe each storm carries counsel for them. To ascend the storm horns is a pilgrimage, not a conquest. And so, the mountains endure. Witnesses to empire and exile alike. Their peaks have mirrored the flight of dragons, their slopes have drunk the blood of kings. In every age they offer the same challenge. Climb if you dare. Listen, if you're wise. Leave nothing but echoes. This is the legacy of the storm horns. A history written not in ink, but in stone and storm. Those who would know the land must first learn its patience, for even thunder tells its tale slowly. Where the storm horns descend and surrender their strength to the horizon, the world softens. Stone gives way to silt, cliffs dissolve into meadows, and the voice of thunder quiets to a murmur. You have entered the Tunlands, a country of mists and mirrors, where earth and sky trade places, and the boundaries between realms waver like candlelight to the casual traveler. The Tunlands seem like a vast emptiness, rolling plains interrupted by bogs and lonely willows, glistening pools and slow wandering streams. But look longer, and the landscape begins to breathe beneath its shifting skin. You find not emptiness but rhythm, an endless dialogue between river, soil, and storm. The Tun River, born of the storm horn's melting snows, is the lifeblood of this region. It coils through the land like a silver serpent, breaking into countless tributaries and oxbow lakes, each one swelling and shrinking with the seasons. After spring floods, its banks vanish entirely, and the plains transform into an inland sea dotted with grassy islets. Herds of marsh elk and longhorn oxen drift across it like living flotsam, and Tunlar boats, little more than reed rafts lashed with rope and courage, glide among drowned groves. When summer comes, the waters retreat, leaving behind black soil rich as memory and treacherous as quicksand. To map the Tunlands is an act of folly. No two seasons share the same shape. Roads crumble into ponds, and ponds harden into roads. Even the Tunlar themselves, the people for whom the plains are home, say they follow the song of the land, not any path drawn in ink. Their word for road and river is the same, meaning that which moves. Mist is the true master here. At dawn, it drapes the hills in veils of pearl and ghostlight, curling around every hollow, swallowing every sound. Travelers lose their bearings in moments. Trees, seen through fog, appear as watchful sentinels. Boulders take on the shape of crouching beasts. A distant herd might be mistaken for an army. The mists deceive as easily as they protect. Bandits vanish into them like smoke. Spirits hide within their folds, and sometimes the mist remembers, parting to reveal shapes that are not from this time. The outline of a tower, a bridge that no longer exists, a reflection of something that once was and might be again. The Tunlar clans have lived with this uncertainty for generations uncounted. They are wanderers, herders, and fishers, people of tents and portable shrines, following the migrations of their beasts and the moods of the river.
Each clan holds seasonal territories rather than permanent cities. Their camp shifting with the waters, they build no walls, for they know nothing stands here forever. Instead, they mark their passage with oath poles carved from driftwood, painted with storm symbols and bound in woven grass. These poles are less monuments than promises, reminders of pacts with land and spirit. Life in the Tunlands demands adaptability in years of heavy rain. The plains drown, forcing the clans to higher ground in drought. The soil cracks and burns, and they follow the last pools, guided by the cry of marsh birds. The Tunler are expert weather readers. They can smell a change of wind before a cloud forms, predict the shape of the next flood by the pattern of frog song, and navigate fog by memory of scent and sound rather than sight. To them, the storm is not a foe to be conquered, but a relative to be respected, a fierce, moody uncle whose tempers must be endured with patience. They tell stories of the Mist Bride, a spirit said to walk the Tun in times of great flood, cloaked in fog and crowned with lightning. She chooses a mortal consort from among the clans, granting visions and safe passage through the rising waters. Her blessing ensures prosperity, her anger brings ruin. Some claim to have seen her dancing on the river during stormlight, her reflection shining brighter than the moon, whether goddess, fae, or elemental. She embodies the heart of the Tunlands. Beautiful, unpredictable, and unbound. Beneath the layers of water and peat lie the remnants of older worlds. The Tunlands are built atop sediments of memory. Broken stone rings half swallowed by mud, columns rising from still lakes, causeways that lead nowhere. Scholars believe these ruins predate Cormyr, perhaps even Netheril, vestiges of a civilization that worshipped rain and shadow. The Tunler call them the drowned temples and avoid them, saying the stones still dream and call out in thunder. Adventurers who seek their treasure often vanish, or return haunted, whispering that they saw the reflection of their own future in those black mirrors. And yet, amid such transience, life flourishes, herds graze on knee-high grasses that hum in the wind. Flocks of cranes trace lines across the sky, their cries echoing over the fen. Traders from Proskra bring salt and tools, bartering with Tunler guides who lead them through the labyrinth of flood and fog. Druids keep watch over sacred pools, reading omens and ripples. Wandering priests of Eldeth tend shrines hidden among reeds, where pilgrims leave offerings of braided rushes to ensure safe crossing. Every season paints the Tunlands anew. In spring, colors riot. Green meadows, white blossoms, skies streaked with violet storms. In summer, heat and insects thrum, and the air is thick with the scent of wet earth. Autumn brings gold light through thinning mist, while winter hushes all beneath frost. Each phase erases and reveals like layers of a palimpsest written in rain. For the Cormyrians, the Tunlands are a frontier both alluring and confounding to soldiers. It is a land that swallows formations and dulls steel. To merchants, a realm of promise and peril. To cartographers, a maddening blur. Few forts stand long here. Foundations sink, roads disappear, and supply lines drown. Yet the crown persists, erecting new outposts with every generation, only for the fog to reclaim them. For the Zentarim, these plains are profit waiting to be claimed. A crossroads where tolls and tariffs might multiply. They have built causeways and bridges of stone and ironwood. And for a time, their black banners fluttered above watchtowers on raised mounds, but storms show no preference, and stone crumbles as easily as royal brick. In the end, both empires pay tribute to the same monarch, the sky. To the Tunler, all these efforts seem foolish. They say the land does not belong to those who stand still, only to those who walk with it. Their wisdom is simple and old. To live in the Tunlands, one must move like the mist, bend like the reed, and listen like the river. At night, when campfires burn low and fog rolls in, the plains become a dreamscape. The air grows still, heavy with moisture and memory. You might hear the call of a crane, the soft splash of unseen feet, or faint music, pipes and drums echoing through the haze. Some say these sounds are the Tunler at feast, others that they're the ghosts of drowned cities singing their sorrow. Either way, in that hour, you feel the veil thinning, as if the land itself exhales, revealing both past and possibility. In the mists of the Tunlands, history and myth drift together. Every reflection hides a secret. Every ripple writes a verse. The plains hold no crown, no citadel, no enduring monument. Only motion, memory, and the promise of renewal. And though kings may draw borders and merchants build roads, the mists remind all who enter. You do not own this land. You travel through its dream. And when you leave, it forgets your footsteps as swiftly as a wave erases its foam. In the Tunlands, the world is not fixed. It is alive, breathing, shifting. To understand it is to surrender certainty. To love, it is to let go. No land is changeable, as the Tunlands remains untouched by ambition. Though the mists shift and the rivers rewrite the map each season, men and powers beyond men have always sought to draw their own lines across this storm-born plain. To understand the Tunlands, you must see not just the land itself, but the hands that reach for it, gloved in silk, iron, or shadow. For all its wildness, the Tunlands stand at the center of a storm greater than any weather, the storm of politics, where kings, guilds, and clans struggle for a prize that refuses to be held. The plains are crossroads, corridor, and curtain all at once. A highway between east and west, a buffer between rival realms, and a veil behind which armies, merchants, and whispers move unseen. Every border here is soft, every oath written in rain. Let us begin with the oldest claimant, Cormyr, the forest kingdom, the lion with a storm on its flank. From Suzail's gilded halls and Arabel's proud ramparts, the Obarskir crown looks westward and sees a frontier rich with promise. In their eyes, the Tunlands are the kingdom's western marches, an unharvested field of bounty and buffer alike. They remember the days when Orcish hordes poured down from the Sunset Mountains, when war bands tested Cormyr's reach. And they know that a chain is only as strong as its outermost link. To them, the Tunlands must be tamed, or at least guided, not for greed, but for survival. Thus the crown's presence begins in stone Highhorn Keep, perched upon the Stormhorn's shoulder, serves as bastion and beacon. Its towers piercing the mists like spears. From there, patrols descend into the lowlands. Companies of purple dragons clad in polished mail, bearing banners that gleam violet in the stormlight. Their orders: to guard the passes, levy fair tax upon travelers, and ensure that no hostile power festers west of the range. But here, law falters. Cormyr's code, written in neat script and sealed with wax, finds little purchase in sodden earth. Soldiers sent to chart the plains return weeks later with maps that contradict each other.
Garrison posts rise on dry ground only to sink into the mud come spring. The local clans vanish the first sign of permanent walls, and merchants whisper that royal tariffs grow heavier with each mile eastward. Cormyr claims the Tunlands, yes. But its grasp is mist on water. Beyond a day's ride from High Horn or Tirlook, the king's word is carried by rumor, not decree. Yet the crown persists, it cannot afford not to. For every flood that drowns a border road, another road is raised. For every fort swallowed by bog, a watchtower rises on a hill. Each generation of monarch renews the claim, sending engineers, soldiers, and priests to anchor Cormyr's will in shifting soil. Sometimes the mists oblige. More often, they simply wait. If Cormyr's approach is one of guardianship, stern, paternal, unyielding, another power stalks the Tunlands with quieter intent. The Zhentarim, the Black Network, whose seated dark hold looms to the southwest, like a scar of onyx upon the mountains. The Zhentarim see no wild frontier here. To them the Tunlands are roots and resources, veins of opportunity winding through the marsh. They do not speak of oaths or crowns, but of tolls, tariffs, and tribute. They understand what the crown cannot, that in a land so mutable, power lies not in holding ground, but in controlling passage, roads, ferries, bridges, and guides. These are the true currencies of the plains. From their citadel at Darkhold, they dispatch agents and engineers. Causeways of stone rise from the fen, arch bridges span flood channels, and fortified inns dot the roadways. Not charity, but commerce. A caravan crossing the Tunlands under vent protection pays dearly for the privilege, but it arrives intact. Those who refuse often waylaid by conveniently informed bandits, only to be rescued later by conveniently passing sellswords. Coin flows both directions. Loyalty, only one. To the Tunler clans, these black-clad merchants and mercenaries are both boon and bane. The Zhentarim pay in hard silver, buy hides and peat, and bring crafted goods from distant Anarok and the Moonsea. Yet they demand obedience, keep strict accounts, and see treaties as parchment meant to burn. Where Cormyr's envoys speak of allegiance, the Zhentarim speak of investment. Their rule when it comes is efficient and ruthless, and it leaves marks that do not fade, even when the causeways crumble. The rivalry between crown and coin shapes every shadow of the Tunlands. Soldiers and agents eye one another across misty crossroads, each pretending neutrality, each waiting for the storm to clear first. Skirmishes are rare but inevitable. A patrol lost in the fog, a caravan mistakenly taxed. The Tunler have learned to read these encounters like weather, steering their herds away when thunder of war threatens. Between these two giants, the Tunler clans hold the heart of the land, if not its title. They owe allegiance to neither, yet trade with both. They are the living arteries of the Tunlands, carrying goods, news, and secrets between foothill and fen. Their politics are woven through kinship and custom. Councils held under stormlight, chieftains chosen by omen, pacts sealed with wind-blown grass rather than steel. To outsiders, their loyalties appear fickle. One season escorting Cormyrian envoys, the next selling passage to Zhent caravans. But to the Tunler, survival is not betrayal. It is adaptation. They serve the land first, and those who honor it second. Among the clans, some lean east, some west, and some walk their own path. The Vey of Stonewash swears seasonal oaths to High Horn in exchange for iron tools and protection against orc raids. The Farsi wanderers roam the open grasslands, proud and untamed, guiding travelers one week and robbing them the next. Others dwell deeper in the mist, unknown to cartographers or kings, living by fishing, foraging in quiet packs with spirits older than empire. Beyond these principal powers move lesser forces, the merchants of Prosker, ever pragmatic, threading the plains to reach the Dragon Coast. The druids of the Tun circle who mediate disputes with the same calm they bring to coaxing floods into fertile channels. Even pirates of the river who drift like ghosts through fog, preying upon the unwary. There are whispers, too, of warlocks sworn to the mist bride, wielding charms of rain and thunder, answering to no mortal lord. It is said that in the Tunlands, alliances are as fleeting as reflections, and every treaty is tested when the flood comes. One year's protector becomes the next year's rival. Gold that built a bridge this summer might buy a blade next spring. The mists favor no master. They cloak all equally and confound the sure-footed as swiftly as the lost. For those who dwell here, politics is weather. It cannot be stopped, only read and endured. The wise learn to bend when the wind shifts, to shelter when storms gather, and to rebuild when the skies clear. Kings draw borders, merchants raise towers, warlords declare themselves masters. But the Tunlands persist, patient and watchful, eroding every mark of dominion as the river erodes its banks. And so, the Tunlands remain what they have always been, a frontier of mirrors. Every power that gazes upon them sees only its own reflection. The crown's duty, the Zentarim's profit, the clan's freedom. Yet none truly rule, for in this land of storms, authority lasts only as long as the next cloudburst, and every drop of rain reminds those who would command it. The plains bow to no banner, save the one flown by the sky itself. The Tunlands are a land of storms, and storms, like memories, are restless things. They return, reshape, and whisper of what came before. Here, history and myth are never far apart. Every pool reflects more than sky, every hill hides more than stone. Ask 10 travelers what they saw in the mist, and you will hear 10 tales, all different, all true. For in the Tunlands, truth moves as the river does, winding through silt and shadow, its surface shifting with every gust. From the foothills to the flooded flats, the people speak of old stories that breathe, tales told beside driftwood fires, passed from elder to child as warnings and wonders both. The land itself seems to listen as they are told, as if the plains remember. Let us walk through the mists together and hear their voices. The first and greatest of these is the tale of the Gods' Theater, a myth spoken in reverent tones by druids and bards alike long ago, before men laid roads or Cormyr's banners fluttered. This region was forest, a vast woodland stretching from the Sunset Mountains to the Tun. In that age, the elven courts gathered beneath an open sky to perform their rites, pageants of creation, songs of binding, dramas enacted not for mortal eyes, but for the gods themselves. They built a stage of living stone upon a hill that shimmered like glass, and there they called down the heavens. But pride, even among the fair folk, draws storms. The story says that the elves sought to summon lightning itself to weave thunder into their music, to capture the voice of the sky and spell in song. What came instead was wrath. The clouds broke and rain fell for 40 days and 40 nights, swallowing forest, glade, and grove. The earth softened, the roots drowned, and the stage itself sank beneath a lake. The performers were swept away, their melodies echoing still when thunder rolls, and so the Tunlands were born. A theater flooded, a lesson in humility written in water. Some claim the hill yet remains, its topmost stones glimpsed at drought's height, engraved with runes that sing when struck by rain. Others speak of the Mist Bride, spirit queen and sorrowed guardian of the floodplain. Her shape is seen in the fog's curling grace, a tall woman in garments of rain, her eyes pale as dawnlight through cloud. She is both benevolent and merciless, for she walks the waters,
choosing mortals to share her burden. In times of great flood, a clan may find itself visited by her emissaries, white cranes landing near their fires, reeds braided into circles by unseen hands if they welcome her. She grants them safe passage and fertile ground. If they refuse, she drowns their fields and scatters their herds. There are songs of those who wedded her, of children born with hair like storm clouds, their voices echoing the wind. To offend the mist bride is to invite sorrow. To honor her is to accept that all love here is fleeting, like the river's paths. Near the western marches stands a low hill known as Torch Tower Rise, crowned with half-buried ruins. At its heart sleeps the cairn of Thallium Torch Tower, the banded king of storm and shadow centuries ago. Thallium was said to have united the wandering clans beneath a banner of flame, forging a fleeting realm of horsemen, raiders, and poets who rode with thunder at their heels. They say his weapon was a spear wreathed in fire, lit by lightning itself, with which he struck fear into caravan and night alike. Yet power built on flame burns quickly when he defied both Cormier and the Zentrum. Their armies converged, and the heavens joined the battle. A storm unlike any before swept the plains. When it cleared, his horde was gone, their camp reduced to ash, their leader entombed by the very rain he had commanded. His cairn glows faintly in stormlight. Those who approach on thunder nights see the air shimmer, and sometimes a figure stands upon the mound, flame-haired, watching the horizon. Older still are the drowned temples. Marble domes and colonnades glimpsed only when drought bears the mud. Scholars argue they belong to a forgotten human realm. Perhaps a cult devoted to Astitia or Eldath. The Tunler call them the Sleeping Faces, for their entrances resemble open mouths swallowing the river. Inside, explorers find murals faded to pale echoes, robed figures kneeling before a rain of stars, beasts half fish, half bird, all gazing upward. Some who venture within hear singing below the waterline. Others never return, their bodies found days later, eyes open, lungs full not of water but mist. Among Tunler herders, tales circulate of the storm cradle, a bowl-shaped hollow where lightning never ceases. They say a single tree grows at its center, its branches silver white, its bark warm to the touch from it. Wanderers have cut staffs that hum with power, but those who take more than one branch are found later burned, their belongings melted into glass. The druids forbid entry, warning that the cradle is not meant for mortal hands, yet still seekers come, chasing echoes of divine fire. In the eastern marches, where Cormier's roads falter and sink, lies a ring of standing stones known as the Oat Circle. No moss clings to them, and no bird nests above when storms gather. They hum, deep, resonant, like a choir beneath the earth. Tradition holds that any promise sworn within the circle binds not only man to man, but soul to sky. To break such an oath invites the lightning's judgment. More than one traitor has been found here, struck down though no storm was near. Some stories are more intimate. Shepherds tell of Lanith of the low hills, who courted a spirit of rain and learned to hear the clouds. Minstrels sing of the river maiden and the stone, a love tale ending in transformation. The maiden, now a stream, forever chasing her lost beloved. A boulder lodged in her path, mothers warn children of the fog wolf, a beast of vapor and teeth that hunts those who wander too far from the fire. Hunters whisper of the glassback boar, whose hide reflects arrows and whose tusks gleam with lightning, said to root only where the first drops of a storm fall. Not all lore is soft. Warriors recount the legend of the Black Flood, a tide of shadow that once swept from the far hills, carrying undead and wraiths upon its waves. Only by calling the Mistbride's name did the clan survive, for she rose in her fury, drowning the tide in tears of silver. Even now when storms brew blacker than pitch, the Tunlers sing her hymn, a haunting melody that mingles with thunder to keep old darkness from waking. Beneath all these tales runs a current, a sense that the Tunlands remember. They are not haunted in the way of cursed battlegrounds or abandoned cities, but haunted by memory itself. The land repeats its lessons, that pride draws rain, that all crowns sink in time, that mercy and wrath share the same cloud. The Tunler know this and weave it into their songs, sung low and steady against the storm. In taverns of Prosker and halls of high-horned foreign bards twist these stories into fables of heroism or greed. But in the plains, around small fires in the fog, the people tell them differently. Here every myth is a mirror, every hero a warning, every spirit both kind and cruel, for the Tunlands love no one who cannot love uncertainty. And so the mists guard their stories, as jealously as their secrets. Those who walk the Tunlands carry not maps, but memories. They know that each storm retells an old legend. Each reflection reveals another truth. In this land, myth is not confined to parchment. It lingers in the reeds, hums in the rain, and waits for those willing to listen. In the Tunlands, life does not bloom in spite of the storms. It thrives because of them. Every creature, from the smallest insect to the mightiest predator, has been shaped by rain, mist, and shifting ground. The plains are not barren nor truly wild, they are alive in constant motion, adapting, breathing, shedding their skin with every season. Those who live here, beast, spirit, or mortal, learn quickly that survival is not conquest. It is harmony with a rhythm greater than themselves. To wander through the Tunlands is to walk through a living mosaic. Step softly, and you might find the grass humming underfoot, not metaphor, but truth. Storm grass, a wiry plant whose roots sink deep into the charged soil, sings faintly when brushed by wind. The Tunlers say it carries the breath of the sky, and that when the plains fall silent, a storm is near. Between its blades grow moon rushes, pale reeds whose downy heads reflect starlight, and ember lilies, blooming only after lightning strikes, their petals shot with silver veins. Where waters gather, life teems, shallow pools swarm with reed frogs, jewel-skinned creatures whose voices form a chorus as precise as any choir. Warning of floods before the first raindrop falls, Miracarp, broad and gleaming, glide through oxbow lakes, feeding on silt and memory alike. Along the Tun's banks graze herds of marsh elk, tall and silent, their antlers tangled with moss, their eyes reflecting the sky. They migrate with the rains, following ancient routes older than any road, their hooves pressing patterns into the mud like runes of renewal. Predators move in their wake. The low ridges are the realm of the fen wolf, sleek and silver gray, its pelt damp even in drought. It hunts in mist, using sound more than sight, and its howl is said to call the wind itself. In the reed beds lurks the bog tiger, striped like shadows through fog, patient as still water. Few have seen it and lived, though Tunler hunters leave offerings, the first catch of a season, to keep its hunger sated above. Circling ever watchful drift the thunder hawks, massive birds with feathers edged in metallic sheen. When they wheel low and cry, wise herders gather their flocks, for the hawks fly only before the storm breaks. Not all creatures of the Tunlands are flesh. The mists birth their own brood, shapes that flicker at the edge of sight, formed of vapor and intent. Travelers speak of mist hearts, translucent deer whose hooves never touch ground, leading the lost toward shelter or into peril depending on their hearts. Others tell of rain phantoms, ripples of light that dance upon flooded fields, whispering in voices like dripping water. Druids insist they are the dreams of the land itself, visions of what once was, or what may yet be. Beneath the surface dwell older things. The marsh conceals deep channels where glassback turtles swim, their shells gleaming with crystalline ridges.
They emerge during storms, raising their heads to taste lightning, their eyes glowing faintly blue. In darker bogs crawl silt serpents, long and eyeless, drawn to warmth and sound. The Tunler believe they carry the whispers of drowned gods, and they avoid their lairs, for to disturb such waters is to invite rememberings better left asleep. Amid this wilderness, humankind walks carefully. The Tunler clans have lived upon these plains since memory began. Shaping their lives to the land's moods, they are people of motion, herders, fishers, and traders, never staying long enough to scar the soil. Their dwellings are tents of woven grass and hides, easily dismantled when the floods come, easily raised again when the waters retreat. Each clan carries its world upon its back, their homes, their tools, their stories, and their shrines. The Tunlers see themselves as stewards, not masters. They take only what the storm permits and repay with gifts and rituals. At the close of each season, they hold the feast of return, laying offerings upon riverbanks, fruit, flowers, and carved figurines to thank the water for its mercy and remind it of their pact. Their priests, or rain speakers, read omens in the fall of droplets and the color of clouds. They carry staves tipped with windstones, smooth pebbles hollowed by centuries of rain. With these, they mark sacred crossings, predict the floods, and bless caravans that brave the mists. Each clan bears its own sigil, painted upon oath spears and carved into driftwood poles. The Vey of Stonewash, dwellers of the foothills, honor the mountain spirits and carve thunder masks from rock. The Hollow Brook, who fish the sunken valleys, wear necklaces of shell and bone, and speak to the water as kin. The Farsia wanderers, restless riders of the open fen, follow the crane's migrations, believing each bird to be a messenger of the mist bride. Though their tongues and customs differ, all Tunlas share the same creed. Walk softly, for the land remembers. Other peoples pass through, though few stay. Cormyrean patrols maintain lonely posts upon the drier ridges, stone towers from which smoke rises like prayers, their walls streaked with moss within. Purple dragon knights keep uneasy watch, their armor dulled by damp, their banners fading in the mist. They see much, understand little, and trust the Tunler less than the weather. Yet some form bonds. Tales tell of soldiers who forsook orders to join the clans, drawn by freedom and the rhythm of the plains. Centerm traders, more practical, travel in barges along the causeways, buying wool, hides, and fish oil in exchange for tools, salt, and cunning. Their beasts of burden are mud oxen, broad-backed and sure-footed, bred to wade through knee-deep muck. They fear the mists, though they hide it with bravado, muttering charms against will-o-wisps that hover like lanterns in the dusk. To lose one's way in fog is to risk more than delay. There are stories of caravans found years later, their wagons overgrown, their bones draped in moss. Amid these competing presences, soldier, merchant, nomad, life intertwines. The Tunlands nurture strange symbioses. Insects and birds form patterns like woven cloth. Flocks turning as one upon unseen cues. Herd animals graze only where storm grass hums. Avoiding silent patches as though sensing what lies beneath, even predators seem bound by unspoken law. When lightning strikes close, all fall still, heads raised, listening. The ecology of the Tunlands is not one of abundance, but of balance. Each creature plays its part in the storm's cycle. When the river swells, fish spawn and frogs sing. When it recedes, scavengers and grazers return. Fire rarely touches this land, the damp forbids it, but lightning births renewal, splitting ancient trees whose roots feed new growth. Death here is seldom final. It is transformation. A fallen beast nourishes soil, soil feeds reed, reed shelters crane, crane's cry warns the herd, and so the circle continues. Even the seasons themselves are living things. Spring strides in on thunderheads, her cloak heavy with rain. Summer walks barefoot through shallows, trailing lilies in her wake. Autumn sighs over fields turned gold, gathering fog like scarves. Winter, stern and brief, drapes frost across the pools, whispering rest before the rains return. To dwell here is to know them all not as times, but as travelers, companions whose moods must be heeded. Beyond flesh and feather, there are the unseen. Spirits of place that drift in mist or whisper through reeds. The Tunler leave them tokens. Polished stones, braids of grass, bowls of milk for protection and guidance. Some spirits are kind. The river's daughter, who rescues the drowning. Old Greyback, the hill giant turned to stone, who shelters shepherds from wind. Others are less forgiving. The wailing reed, a ghost that mimics lost loved ones, luring the unwary into bogs. The white drummer, whose hollow rhythm warns of approaching flood, but deafens those who do not flee. This delicate web binds all who live in the Tunlands. 1,000 small packs woven through time. Break one and the balance tilts. There are places where greed or folly have done so. Clearings where birds no longer sing. Pools that reflect no face, stretches of plain where storm grass grows black and silent. The Tunler avoid these wounds, calling them the stilled places where the land holds its breath in mourning. Here, existence is never static. Life flows with the flood, bends with the wind, and waits with the mist. The Tunlands teach all who walk them the same lesson, that strength lies not in defiance, but in understanding. To live is to listen, to endure is to adapt, and to belong is to remember that even the smallest reed, trembling beneath the storm, is part of the great design.
Every land in Faerun is part of a larger story. None stand alone. Even the most remote valley shares the breath of the realms, carried by trade winds, migration, rumor, and dream. So it is with the Tunlands. Though they seem shrouded, self-contained, wrapped in their own mists, they are in truth a mirror, reflecting and refracting the patterns of other places. Their essence of change, resilience, and shifting boundaries echoes across the world. To understand them fully, one must walk beyond their borders and listen to their echoes in distant lands. The Tunlands are a threshold, not a terminus. They stand at the intersection of mountain and plain, of empire and exile, of law and storm. This duality finds kinship in many corners of Faerun. Each resemblance illuminates a facet of their nature, their struggle, their solitude, their song. To the north lie the Stonelands, Cormier's scarred frontier. There, too, the Crown's Reach falters against the land's defiance. But where the Stonelands are dry, broken, and harsh, a chaos of jagged rock and monster lairs, the Tunlands breathe. Their resistance is not through violence, but transformation. They yield, they flood, they drift, and in so doing, they escape possession. The Stonelands teach endurance by hardness, the Tunlands by adaptability. Both defy conquest, but one with teeth, the other with fog. Farther south, the border kingdoms share a different kinship, political rather than physical. In those realms of fleeting thrones and self-proclaimed princes, nations rise and fall in the span of seasons. Authority there, as here, is impermanent. Yet while the border kingdoms are born of ambition, the Tunlands' transient springs from nature. The one is restless ego, the other eternal cycle. In the south, borders shift because mortals grasp too tightly. In the Tunlands, they shift because the river wills it so. Both remind us that sovereignty, like the sky, cannot be owned. To the east, beyond the storm horns, lie the Dales, peaceful, self-reliant, bound by custom rather than crown. The Dales folk and the Tunler would understand one another's hearts. Both distrust tyranny, both cherish freedom, both measure wealth in community, not coin. Yet the Dales rest upon stable earth, guarded by forests and gods of goodwill. The Tunlands offer no such comfort here.
The ground itself is faithless, and every promise must be renewed with the turning of the season. A Dale Lord can build a hall and expect it to stand a century. A Tunler chieftain builds no hall at all, knowing the flood will take it. So their strength grows inward, not in stone, but in spirit. Turn west. In the western heartlands loom Iriabor, Elcherol, Scornabil, bastions of trade and faith where roads run shore and the law is shared. There, the world feels mapped, measured, lit. The Tunlands, by contrast, are Faroon's breath between those solid notes, a pause, a hesitation, a reminder that not all paths are paved. Traders crossing from Iriabor to Cormier skirt the mists warily, muttering prayers as they pass. For they know the plains keep their own counsel, yet the goods they carry, grain, iron, incense, mingle with Tunler wool and peat, weaving economies together. The Tunlands, though ungoverned, are indispensable, a living artery linking realms that might otherwise turn inward and stagnate. To the south stretches the Dragon Coast, a mosaic of free cities where coin outweighs creed, its people cunning, proud, irreverent, might find kin among the Tunler who also prize wit and weather sense over rank. Yet the coast is driven by ambition, the Tunlands by necessity. The merchant counts his profit, the herder counts his storms. Both value freedom, but one as a stage for glory, the other as a shelter from disaster. If they met at a fire, they would share ale and argument, and part as friends who see in one another both kinship and warning. Look east again, farther still, and you'll find the Rashami, guardians of the North's frozen wilds. Their bond with the spirit world mirrors that of the Tunler. Both live at the mercy of forces vast and unseen. Both weave reverence into daily life. Yet Rashaman's spirits are fierce, its witches commanding storms with ceremony and spell. The Tunler's spirits are quieter, older, their power braided with the land itself. The Rashami build hearts against the cold. The Tunler leave space for the flood. Their faiths differ, but their awe is the same. A humbling before nature's endless will.
Across the desert of Anarok wander the Bedine, nomads whose tents rise beneath alien stars. Their world, too, is one of shifting ground and fleeting landmarks. Though theirs are dunes, not marshes, they share the Tunler's suspicion of permanence, their oral traditions, their respect for sky and sand alike. But where the Bedine battle thirsts, the Tunler battle drowning, one seeks the oasis, the other, the high ground. Both measure journeys not in miles, but in memory. Their tales would mingle easily, like wind meeting water, different voices telling the same truth. The road is life, not burden. Venture north and west to the tundras and pine-clad hills, and you find the Uthgard tribes, fierce and proud, their totems carved from storm and stone. They, too, hold covenant with beasts and sky, but theirs is a creed of conquest and remembrance, of ancestors who roar in battle. The Tunler, by contrast, whisper. Their ancestors speak through ripples, not war cries, yet both keep faith with the land's breath, and both know that to break that bond is to vanish like mist or snow. Beyond Faroon's heart, parallels still unfold in the endless steppe of the Shar. Nomads gallop across oceans of grass. There, the horizon stretches forever, open and sunlit, where in the Tunlands it folds upon itself, veiled and secret. The Shar teaches the courage of exposure. The Tunlands, the wisdom of concealment. Each shapes its people in its own image. The Sharon bold, the Tunler patient, both bow to wind and weather, and both laugh at walls. There are, too, echoes in lands few now remember. In the fabled ruins of Ogren beneath the sunset mountains, the dwarves once carved halls that rivaled Highhorn's strength. The Tunler's reverence for stone and silence may well descend from them, a memory passed through rain rather than blood. Likewise, in the legends of Netheril, there are stories of sunken spires and sky-born cities that fell into shadow. The Tunlands, with their half-buried temples and drowned towers, seem a reflection, a gentler tragedy where magic's ruin softened into reeds.
Even beyond Faerun, across the plains, kindred places exist in the Feywild. Meadows of endless twilight shift like dreams, paths bending upon themselves there, too. Mist deceives and beauty walks hand in hand with danger. Some say thin places in the Tunlands lead there, that certain pools hold reflections too deep, showing skies that no mortal cloud ever crossed. The Tunlars speak of travelers who vanish after falling the song of unseen harps, guests of courts that bloom only in storms. And in the Shadowfell, it is whispered. The Tunlands have a reflection of their own, a twilight fen where the water never stirs and lightning flashes black there. Every reed is still, every echo muted. Perhaps it is the fate of all mutable lands to cast both light and shadow upon the world. Through all these comparisons runs a thread. The Tunlands is mirror and mediator. They belong to no single story because they contain them all. The ambition of the border kingdoms, the humility of Rashimin, the freedom of Badin, the defiance of the Stonelands, they are what each neighbor projects upon them. To Cormyr, a frontier, to Darkhold, a market, to Prosker, a road, to the Tunlar, a home beyond ownership. In mythic structure, too, they serve as passage. The in-between realm where heroes shed certainty and gain understanding. Just as the Stonelands test steel, the Tunlands test patience. To cross them is to learn that endurance is not always resistance. Sometimes it is surrender, not in defeat, but in acceptance. Every realm of Faerun has its lesson. The Anarok teaches thirst, the High Forest reverence, the Shar courage, the Tunlands teach impermanence. That all things from kingdoms to footpaths are written in sand and storm. They are the pause between heartbeats, the breath before speech, the silence between lightning and thunder. To know them is to know Faerun itself, not as a map, but as a living song. One that changes key with every gust of wind.
In the present age, the Tunlands are no longer dismissed as the blank between borders. They have emerged, quietly but unmistakably, into the consciousness of the realms around them. Once seen as obstacle or afterthought, they are now recognized as crossroads, not of empire, but of exchange, resilience, and return. The mists have thinned just enough to reveal a living landscape, still treacherous, still defiant, but filled with human and natural rhythm once overlooked by chroniclers of court and city. For Cormyr, the Tunlands have become a symbol of its own unfinished work. After centuries of patrols and proclamations, the Crown has learned that dominion cannot simply be declared over soil that shifts beneath one's boots. Instead, Cormyr has adopted a gentler hand. Instead of iron garrisons and carved roads, it plants relationships, alliances with Tunlar chieftains, trade oaths, and seasonal markets. The kingdom has realized that the Tunlands cannot be governed as Suzail is governed. They must be courted as one courts a storm, with patience, respect, and awareness that the thunder will always speak first. High Hornkeep remains the stalwart sentinel of the West, but its watchfires burn less for warning now and more for welcome. Its commanders are as likely to host Tunlar delegates as they are to muster knights. Young purple dragons train, not only in arms but in diplomacy, learning to read wind and weather as carefully as they study maps. Patrols no longer sweep through with assumption of rule. They move with caution, often guided by locals who understand which fords are passable, which paths have vanished into bog. The Western March Warden, once a title of conquest, is now that of a negotiator. Part soldier, part scholar, part student of the land. In Prosker, the pulse of commerce beats louder. The city, newly folded under Cormier's banner, thrives as the southern artery between the Dragon Coast and the Heartlands. Its merchants, pragmatic as ever, have grown adept at navigating both bureaucracy and bog. Prosker's guilds maintain fleets of low-draft barges, specially built for the unpredictable shallows of the Tun. Teamsters employ Tunler scouts to guide caravans, offering payment in coin and hospitality in return. The road to Prosker is no longer a journey of peril, but one of cautious partnership. In the marketplaces, you can now hear a mingling of tongues. Cormerian, Chondathan, the lilting dialects of the plains. Wool and peat share stalls with Prosker steel and salt. Over shared ale, deals are struck between peoples who, not long ago, met only at sword's length. Meanwhile, the Zentarim watch from Darkhold, their ambitions tempered but not extinguished. Their causeways still rise from the marsh, and their toll houses, though weathered, still collect coin, yet their grip has loosened. Where once they enforced order with blade and ledger, they now compete through service and subtlety. Their caravans offer protection to those who can pay. Their agents deal less in extortion and more in advantage. In the new balance, they have learned that the Tunlands cannot be ruled by fear alone. The land swallows tyrants as readily as it does their enemies. So the black network adapts, reshaping itself into something almost civil. Merchants cloaked in diplomacy rather than dominance. And what of the Tunler clans, the heart of this shifting plain? They endure, as they always have, bending but unbroken. Yet even among them winds of change stir. Some embrace trade with Cormier, exchanging wool, fish, and herbs for tools, spices, and medicines. Others sell their storm lore, the ancient art of reading sky and current, to travelers who would cross safely, a few younger Tunler. Curious and restless, leave the mists to see the world beyond the storm horns, serving as scouts, soldiers, or storytellers in distant cities. Yet they return, more often than not, drawn home by the rhythm of rain upon grass. Their culture, once described by outsiders as primitive, is now studied with respect. Sages from Arabelle and Candlekeep alike seek their oral histories, realizing that within their songs lie fragments of truth lost to ink and parchment, accounts of ancient floods, of forgotten shrines, of boundaries drawn not by man but by moon and thunder. The Tunler have become keepers of knowledge older than any archive, the wisdom of change. The land itself has altered, too. The scars of the spell plague, once bright and chaotic, have faded into subtler strangeness. In low places where blue fire once raged, pools now shimmer faintly, rippling at the edge of sight. Reed banks glow in certain dawns, touched by magic's afterimage, creatures born during that wild age. Storm-touched beasts with glints of lightning in their eyes, or plants that bloom in response to thunder, still wander the plains, neither wholly mundane nor monstrous. The Tunler accept them as kin, calling them the sky's children. Cormerian scholars classify them with caution, eager to understand yet wary of meddling. Politically, the Tunlands remain a frontier in spirit,
If not in distance, maps have grown more accurate, but certainty remains a luxury. The Oath Road, rebuilt in sections by cooperative labor between Cormier and local clans, connects trade posts and market mounds, yet even it can vanish under a season's flood. Reappearing miles away, engineers have learned to build flexibly, marking paths with floating pylons and rope bridges rather than fixed stone. Every road here is an agreement between land and traveler, renewed each time the rains fall. Despite progress, danger has not departed. The hills still harbor orc tribes driven from the far and Sunset Mountains. Raiders test the weak and unwary. Bandits flourish in fog, sometimes with bent coin in their purses, sometimes none at all. Strange beasts prowl when the mists grow thick. Creatures with half-remembered forms, perhaps remnants of older worlds or reflections from neighboring planes. But the people of the Tunlands, ever adaptable, treat peril as weather, unavoidable, survivable, instructive. For adventurers, this land has become a tapestry of opportunities and risks. One may join Cormier's scouts charting the newest ford or accompany Tunler guides to retrieve relics from drowned ruins. One might delve into the halls of Ogren beneath the storm horns or negotiate with scent factors at shadowed crossroads. Each journey begins under open sky and ends, if fortune holds, with stories worth retelling. For in the Tunlands, the mists are generous to those who respect them and merciless to those who do not. In spiritual matters, the plains remain plural and profound. Temples are rare, shrines transient. Faith here flows with the weather. Eldath and Chan-Chi are honored beside older spirits. The Mist Bride, the River's Daughter, nameless giants in the clouds, clerics who come to preach fixed doctrines soon find their sermons softened by the rain, their certainty diluted in the pools, yet many stay, transformed, learning that devotion need not be built in stone. The Tunlands, once viewed as obstacle, now serve as lesson to Cormier. They teach humility, that strength lies not only in walls, but in understanding. To the Zhentarim, they reveal the limits of control to the Tunler. They confirm what they have always known, that survival is a dance, not a march. This is the modern Tunlands, a realm neither conquered nor lost, neither tamed nor wild. It breathes, it listens, it remembers, it welcomes those who come with open eyes and steady hearts, and confounds those who seek to cage it. Every generation must learn anew the same lesson, that permanence here is a myth, and harmony is the only lasting crown. The Tunlands endure, as they always have, by changing. In the end, when one has crossed the Tunlands, when one has waded through their shallow floods, stood beneath the towering storm horns, and listened to the wind carry 100 whispered tales, there comes a moment of stillness. The traveler halts, turns back, and realizes that the land has passed through them as surely as they have passed through it. The Tunlands do not simply exist upon the map. They dwell in the mind, altering its compass, teaching lessons that no road, no law, no crown can impart. For the Tunlands are not just a place. They are a philosophy carved in rain and echoed by thunder. They remind us that strength does not always wear armor. Sometimes it is the patience of a reed bending beneath the gale, that wisdom is not measured by walls or tomes, but by the humility to listen when the sky speaks, and that memory, though fragile, can outlast any monument, carried in song and story, in the hush that follows lightning. Every people who have gazed upon these mists have seen a different truth to Cormier. They are the test of empire. The realm beyond the reach of decree, where parchment dissolves in the rain and only character holds fast. The knights of High Horn return changed, their pride softened into reverence, their swords heavier with the knowledge that not all battles are won by edge and shield. The Tunlands have taught them that mastery over land is illusion, stewardship is the higher calling. To the Zentrum, they are a mirror of ambition, a place where profit gleams like a coin half buried in silt. Always just out of reach, they have built, bargained, and bled for dominion here. Yet the land reminds them with every flood that gold weighs little against the weight of weather. Some among them, wiser than their superiors, have come to see this not as defeat but as revelation, that to thrive here is to adapt, to shape one's plans not as fortresses but as boats ready to rise and fall with the tide. And to the Tunler, the people of mist and motion, the Tunlands are more than home, they are kin, ancestor, and oracle. Each ridge is an elder, each storm a teacher. They do not seek to own what was given in trust. They live in conversation with it. Their lives, like their songs, hold no beginning or end. Only verses repeated with each season's return. Through them, the land finds voice, and through the land, they find meaning. Even the beasts, the reeds, the stones participate in this harmony. The cranes that trace silver lines across the sky, the wolves that run like shadows through the fog, the lightning that splits the horizon. All are notes in the same great symphony. The Tunlands hum with it, a resonance felt rather than heard, echoing in the heart of anyone who lingers long enough to forget themselves in their company. Time stretches differently. A moment of thunder becomes a memory of centuries. A droplet upon one's skin might carry the taste of dwarven sweat, elven tears, or the salt of some ancient sea long vanished. Every breath taken in the mist feels shared with generations unseen. The land is alive. Yes, but more than that, it is awake. And when it looks back at you, it does not ask your name, only your intent.
Adventurers who cross the Tunlands leave with stories they scarcely recognize as their own. Some return with relics dredged from drowned ruins, others with scars earned in honest misjudgment of the fog's kindness. Yet all, in one form or another, are changed. They speak softer. They pause before presumption. They understand that power can flow, that certainty can fail, and that sometimes the greatest journey is learning when to stop fighting the current. To scholars, the Tunlands are a puzzle still unsolved, a palimpsest written by rain, erasing every certainty with the next season's flood. To poets, they are a muse, elusive and shifting, inspiring verses that never end the same way twice. To rulers, they are humbling. To wanderers, a sanctuary. To the weary, a place where all burdens are washed clean, if only for a while. Above all, the Tunlands remind Faerun of its own truth, that every empire, no matter how mighty, stands upon water, and every story, no matter how proud, must one day return to the soil. Yet in that returning lies not loss, but renewal. For as the river forgets, so too does it forgive. And what it buries one year, it may reveal the next. Changed, softened, ready to be learned anew. Now, as we leave the mists behind, glance once more toward the storm horn, see how they rise, silent, steadfast, their peaks crowned with cloud. They are the guardians of memory, the unmoving watchers of a moving world. Beneath their gaze, the Tunlands stretch, rippling like the surface of thought, reflecting not just the sky above, but all who walk upon it. Between them, mountain and plain, stone and storm, permanence and passage.
lies the essence of balance. So remember, traveler, the Tunlands will not keep your footprints. The mists will close behind you, the rivers will shift and your path will fade, but the lessons will remain, woven into your bones like echoes of thunder. You will carry them with you. The patience of the reed, the courage of the open sky, the grace of a land that endures by yielding. And if ever you lose your way in life's wider realms, close your eyes, listen for the hum of storm grass, the sigh of fog, the steady rhythm of rain. You will find the Tunlands again, waiting, as they always do, beyond the next horizon. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through Faerun's frontier, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with fellow wanderers. Until next time, may your road be clear, your campfire warm, and your sky merciful.